emergency for the first time in about...
This is Jim, and
Receiving this message. We are Ken Jennings and John Roderick. We speak to you from our present, which we can only assume is your distant past, the turbulent time that was the early 21st century.
Fearing the great cataclysm that will surely befall our civilization, we began this monumental reference of strange and obscure human knowledge. These recordings represent our attempt to compile and preserve wonders and esoterica that would otherwise be lost.
So whether you're listening from an advanced civilization or have just reinvented the technology to decrypt our transmissions, this is our legacy to you.
This is our time capsule. This is the Omnibus.
You have accessed entry 522.GE0321, certificate number 46978. Genuine leather. That's the name of my bar.
Yes, even rich Corinthian leather.
Ken, I don't know that I've ever seen you in
leather?
Leather.
Well, let me strip down right now. Let me see. What do I own that's leather?
Yeah.
I had a leather jacket for much of my life. I think maybe in the mistaken belief that I could pull off a leather jacket.
What style of leather jacket was it?
I don't know, motorcycle-y.
What does that mean? There are a lot of motorcycle jackets.
I don't know, not Fonzie.
It wasn't somewhat double-breasted with lapels that snapped?
No, it was like a members-only jacket.
Oh, okay. So like a cafe racer jacket.
Oh, yes. That sounds so good. I had a cafe racer jacket, a thing that I just learned about.
Was it a sort of members only? Did it have epaulets?
Ooh. Did members only jackets have epaulets?
Yeah, I'm afraid they did.
It's all a blur. See, to this day, I think I would feel bad if I were wearing leather, like not because of the poor animals, but just because, like, who do I think I am? I can't pull this off. So I'm not a cool motorcycle guy.
But in your sense, is a leather jacket a status symbol or is it a class symbol? What part of it wouldn't you be pulling off?
Yeah, youth, authenticity, rebelliousness, just all the mid-century associations with a leather jacket. And certainly and there would be rock star associations with if I started to wear like leather pants or a leather top.
Right.
Where clearly I'm not going to do that.
No.
Have you ever worn leather pants?
Leather pants?
Yeah.
No, in the 90s, I asked a girl out, and she said, no, John Roderick. You know, my last boyfriend wore leather pants. And so you, with your saddle shoes and your bow tie, are like not exactly in my class.
Yeah, your rock persona is not veering toward Whitesnake.
No, it's not. But that just made me redouble my efforts, and she did eventually become my girlfriend and was kind of a pivotal girlfriend who really stopped talking about her motorcycle riding boyfriend pretty fast when the saddle shoes took effect.
I thought you meant you would redouble your efforts and start wearing leather pants and bandanas.
No, I kept the saddle shoes. I just said, listen, baby, this is inevitable. And she was like, ugh.
Everybody moves to prep.
God, you suck. And I'm like, I know.
It's funny.
It's right on the t-shirt.
That's the ultimate guy move.
Yeah.
You suck. I know. I know. What are you going to do?
In the 90s, that was like
it's just how the culture is.
What? I know.
I suck and you're still going to date me.
I know. When was the last time you saw a guy in saddle shoes? A lot longer ago than the last guy you saw in leather pants, who apparently was your last boyfriend. She actually said he rode a motorcycle up the stairs in my apartment building. And I was like,
Is that safe?
No, that was the point.
That would be my question.
He was a danger mouse, and I was supposedly just some guy that worked in a bank. But little did she know, I was a guy that worked in a bank.
But now you write sensitive,
dangerous.
But now you write sensitive pop songs. So
that's right.
You sure showed her.
I was standing out in front of a bar one time in saddle shoes, and a girl going into the bar stopped and looked me up and down, and she went, "Oh, I get it."
Wow.
It's like, oh, I get it.
That's what you want to hear.
Oh no, what does that even mean? Oh, I get it.
Oh, boy.
But I have worn leather jackets over the years because I don't know if there's a kind of men's clothes that I haven't worn at some point over the years. I had a lot of like vintage Letterman's jackets that had leather sleeves.
Well, plus like aviator style stuff. That's all you, right?
Yeah, and in the 90s there was that sort of leather, not blazer exactly, but leather long coat. It was all 70s fashion that we found at thrift stores, like a brown sort of car-length leather coat that smelled like cigarettes that you found, and then it was
Put it
like
on, and suddenly you're in
yeah.
you're in the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, well, that, except it was the 90s, so it was like, ha, 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 we're in the Doobie Brothers, ha, ha, ha. Like it was, everything was so ironic that we almost died of irony. And then I did have an actual motorcycle jacket, which I still have, because in the early 90s, there was a fashion for motorcycle jackets that you would have people paint. Like they'd paint designs on them, paint the sleeves, it was like a place you could do art.
Huh.
And so I had a leather motorcycle jacket that had like white. Well, actually, I did some of it.
Did you paint it?
With whiteout. And you could actually use whiteout as like paint. And then like, I don't know, and spikes on it and stuff. I don't know what I was doing. It was, in fact, wearing the leather jacket, one time I walked around the corner up on Capitol Hill, and this like very fashionable gay man was coming the other way, and we kind of almost bumped into each other. And so we had to both stop, and he looked at me up and down with that like that
A piercing eye.
looked me up and down, and he said, "Nice," in a way that was like devastating. And then he walked around me, and he was absolutely commenting on me in the coat, like, "Nice." And he left me just standing there. There was nowhere. What was I going to do? Keep walking? I had to just sit there and like.
You could have just, I guess, died right there.
I kind of like then the rest of the day, like there was a kind of singed smell to me. Nice, he said. But yeah, I've tried over the years to make leather work for me. Like, oh, maybe suede will work, or oh, maybe some kind of. Maybe there's a cafe racer jacket or something.
And you've never found your place?
No, I have a long torso, and so cop jackets or motorcycle jackets don't fit. They always stop way above where they should. So I look ridiculous. Even if it's a jacket my size, it just doesn't. I have to wear longer things, and that's not the style of motorcycle coats. So no, I've never really found a leather jacket that I could wear.
It's good news for cows,
Well, no, the cows are still dying in record numbers.
but less than if you were wearing them.
One fewer cow.
I guess you're still wearing them in your shoes and possibly your couch.
That's the thing. I have a lot of leather in shoes.
You have your whole Filson lifestyle is like you probably own more belts right now than like my whole family has owned total over the course of their lives.
Yeah, probably I own more belts than your whole family dating back to the 1850s. And that's just because, yeah, I love belts, but also, I mean, I guess I'm a collector of belts. That seems like a weird thing to say.
Yeah, especially if they're not really, historical or anything. You just
No.
You have a lot. You're an accumulator of belts more than a collector.
I do have a really good collection of belt buckles, including Scrimshaw from Ye Olden Times. I have a brass belt buckle that says Chester
Nice.
that my daughter just cannot understand. She's like, "What is that?" I have one that says John too. But
Did you get it from a guy named Chester, or did they just have all the names?
yeah, I took it from a man named Chester after a
You killed him?
duel.
Yeah, exactly. He's not Chester anymore.
That's right. But like everything in the world, I guess, I took an interest in different kinds of leather. My daughter's mother/partner is convinced, as a Northwesterner, she's convinced that you cannot wear suede in the Northwest because it's
Tricky.
It's
Yeah,
damaged
'cause it
by
gets wet.
the rain, right? Whereas have always felt as a grunge person.
That you just wear suede shoes and they get gross?
Yeah, you wear a suede jacket and the rain discolors it and makes it look weird and bad, and that's like cool. That sticks it to the man.
Somehow.
Yeah,
Unclear how.
That late stage capitalism like takes another blow to the solar plexus because I let my suede jacket get dirty.
Yeah, take that consumerism.
It comes up a lot. But in logging boots, what are called rough out boots are what a lot of people would think of as suede. It's the rough side of the leather is facing out rather than in. And that was a very common style of logger boots, which are, pretty tough boots.
I assume that's the inside part of the skin when it's on the cow.
Yes. So,
but most people would wear that.
A cow skin
out.
Has a lot of layers. It's got the outer layer.
Sorry to vegans.
Oh, this whole episode's not going to be for you if you're sensitive to the plight of dead cows.
Just listen to it and then make whatever size of donation to PETA you feel atones.
No, you should give to Omnibus because we're telling you all the dark secrets that you can then take to your protest.
This will inspire you to be a better animal rights activist.
That's right. So use your gratitude to go to patreon.com/omnibus project and give us $5 a month. But then underneath what would be on a cow, the hair, then there's that first layer of what is kind of called grain leather, the top grain.
That's the outside of the cow?
The outside.
What happens to the hair, by the way? Do you have to shave it?
Well, yeah, you have to. I mean, you can chemically loosen it. There's still cow shavers. It's called scudding. It's
scudding,
and you can be a scudder. And a lot of what we know about the origins of leather work in human culture, which dates back, 7,000 BC. Because the leather doesn't survive unless it's in a bog or otherwise preserved. We know about leather work through the tools that we find. So scrapers and scudders and pounders and stretchers are things that we find in the archaeological record.
And that's how you can tell what the techniques were?
Yeah. But in order to get the hair off, you already have to have been doing a certain amount of work. The thing about an animal skin, I mean, it's obvious in prehistoric times that if you killed a gazelle and then ate it, you'd have to get the skin off of it first.
That's obvious, I think.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to chew through that.
Nope. And then once it's there...
I guess a lion wouldn't.
A lion would not.
A lion would just eat the skin too.
But a lion kind of goes in and eats the middle section and then is out.
It just leaves. Yeah, it's true.
And then the hyenas come.
You always see the outside of the zebra still there.
Yeah, hyenas come, and then after that, it's the voles, and after that, it's the birds, and then I guess the birds are probably there right away because that's how birds do.
The voles are probably a lot slower.
Yeah, and then it's the worms. Everybody gets their piece. They use every part of the buffalo, except it's...
Nature's so beautiful.
It's nature, yeah. But the thing about an animal skin is that it's a natural garment. It's a natural shelter maker because it's waterproof and it's warm. But it also wants to rot. It also wants to putrefy and it wants to stiffen. I mean, if you think about any...
When the animal's wearing it, some vascular stuff is happening that keeps that from happening. But once it's dead, look out.
Once it's dead, look out. And if it's too humid, it's going to... I mean, the bugs are trying to get to it no matter what.
Right.
And an untreated hide will get either too hard it's not pliable because it gets that sort of a beef jerky hardness, or it just turns to gross.
So do you think humans couldn't really wear animal skins until we developed technology to make them wearable? You always imagine cavemen wearing skins, but
You do, and the
They were
thing
just very
about
itchy?
the technology is it wasn't really hard to figure out. Like if you salt it, you can keep the bugs out.
You're saying that like it's easy, but would I have salted it on the first day? No.
No, but you don't have to worry about keeping the bugs out of most things.
That's true.
Whereas by that point in time, if you kill a gazelle and you don't eat it all right then, you would have had to have developed various ways of preserving meat, at least for a little while, and salt would have been a big part of it.
Right.
But you also can smoke it, and that preserves meat, but it also...
Can you smoke skin? You could smoke hides into leather?
Yeah. I mean, it's not sufficient to make it into beautiful leather, but indigenous people realized, and this is still true of some leather that is made, craft leather that's made in the United States even now, that animal brains rubbed on leather was a softening agent.
What? What's in the brain?
So, a lot of thoughts and sadness, in my case.
But hopefully some enzymes also?
Songs, but enzymes. The different ways traditionally that skins would be treated. It was pretty early. It was discovered that in tree bark there was a chemical that we think of as tannins, and that's why it's called tanning leather. Tanning isn't that the leather goes and sits in the sun and gets a golden brown.
I just realized I don't know if the color tan is related to the process of tanning and tannins. Probably, right?
It is, yeah.
It's the color of leather,
right.
the color of
well, no,
processed
because
leather.
the bark actually. I mean, if you cook bark or soak it, the water becomes that different colors of orange, red.
So somebody would
brown.
see an outfit and be like, "Hey, this looks like the water that's left over when we tan leather."
Well, they would tan the leather, and then that would be the outfit.
Okay.
Right. See what I'm saying? And they used all kinds of wood, all kinds of trees, oak, beech, sumac.
Because all these barks have tannins.
They all have tannins, and they all impart different qualities to it. But the process of tanning leather is a multi-stage process that takes weeks to do it naturally. And it involves, in traditional leather making, it involves pigeon poop that's one way to get kind of ammonia into the tanning process. People would pee on it. They'd pound it and scour it.
These are like pre-modern solutions.
Pre-modern solutions, and really one of the big ways to soften and preserve leather was to take animal dung and pound it into the leather as a way of, again, enzymatically breaking down preserving and also chemically altering the organic matter that would rot.
Right.
And also keeping the leather supple or making it more supple, stretching it. I mean, it's a process that involves a lot of expertise and, again, like they have to sit and cure and then have to go through stretching and all the shaving. I mean, it's a real pounding. It takes weeks.
It does make you want to switch to wool or something.
It does, except leather is long wearing.
Yep.
It's
can't make your shoes out of wool.
Yeah. In most cases, kind of, it's pretty good at shedding water. It's pretty good at retaining heat. You can use leather. What other qualities that leather has is that it's durable in all kinds of manufacturing processes. Like the earliest belts for machines were made of leather.
Right.
And leather is used in creating bags and the straps for things. The Romans and and prehistoric people used hardened, like shell leather as armor and as helmets and
It's the worst. It's the lowest armor class, but still
leather. That's right.
But it's better that if you don't have plate or.
But if you have, and even if you have plate, you're going to have leather underneath, presumably.
True. Plate doesn't bend.
Right. You're going to put leather under your chainmail, even mithril. You're going to want to use a little leather.
You know what? You've talked me into it. I am now into leather.
Yeah, leather's really great.
I'm going to get a T-shirt that says "I am into leather" now.
I am into leather. Get a leather shirt that says "I'm into leather." Can you imagine if you showed up in like a leather vest that had a big patch on the back? I am into leather.
I find the older I get, like the quality of my sleep is pretty much 1-to-1 with the quality of my life.
Is that right?
It's literally the same thing.
If you get good sleep, your life is good, and if you
Yes.
get bad sleep, your life is bad.
I mean, it doesn't solve like the political situation or climate change.
Although when you're asleep, you're
You don't think about that
you're
much.
not thinking about them.
I just find that I have a good day and I'm ready to face those challenges every time I get a good night's sleep. And every time I don't, nothing will make me have a good day. Like, even if good things happen to me during the day, I'll be depressed about it because I just feel so too tired to enjoy it.
And what are some of the things that make your sleep better? How do you get a good night's sleep?
I owe a lot to, I'm going to be quite honest here, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the
Lay it
company
on.
whose ad I'm reading, by a shocking coincidence.
Well, that is weird.
Miracle Made, because so many of the things that like make sleep unpleasant, like being too hot or too cold,
Dirty sheets.
gross sheets, like so many of the
Allergies.
uncomfortable, low quality linens, allergies. These are all things that Miracle Made's high quality sheets solve.
But how do those sheets stay clean longer than other sheets, I asked.
Why is the sheet different from all other sheets? It's partly because of their like NASA-inspired technology. They have silver woven into the sheets. It's a natural antibacterial. So
That's actually really cool.
it kills 99.7% of bacterial growth.
I feel like just having silver in your sheets is just straight up cool.
It's just going to give you more confidence.
Yeah, exactly. I sleep under silver sheets. What about you?
Yeah, and people will be able to tell. You won't even have to say it.
Right.
Like somebody on the bus will be like, something's different about that guy. Is it possible his sheets have silver in them? No. Wait.
He's no king. He's no prince.
Could science accomplish that? And the thing is, you get the sheet of princes without paying princely sums.
When I sleep under my Miracle Made sheets, I notice a difference too. I feel their silky soft smoothness.
They're fancy feeling sheets. They do not feel like as amazingly affordable as they are.
I don't suffer from stuffy noses or other grossness.
I think we should let our listeners upgrade their sleep in the same way that you and I have. I mean, it's tempting always to keep a benefit like this to yourself, right?
Well, true, except I think if you were on a bus and you were visibly like princely,
well rested,
by virtue of your silver sheets.
Who is this well rested? He looks like Ken Jennings, but without the bags under his eyes.
And if you looked across the bus and saw someone else who also had that glow, I bet you would think, omnibus listener.
And what if, even more to the point, what if Miracle Made was giving me money at that time to tell people on the bus about how good their sheets are?
Even more of a princely
I feel
glow.
like I would be even more convinced that
Absol-
I should share this amazing gift.
Well, here's what we're gonna do. I'm excited about this too. So excited, in fact, that I'm gonna give a URL.
When I'm really excited about something, I like to direct people to a URL about it.
Yep, me too. And the URL I'm directing you to is, get your fingers on your keyboard right now. It's trymiracle.com/omnibus. That's trymiracle, TRY, miracle.com/omnibus to try Miracle Made sheets today.
You could buy them for yourself, for a loved one. Either way, you're going to save over 40%. And if you use promo code Omnibus when you check out, they'll throw in a free 3-piece towel set and they'll save you an extra 20%.
Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So you could sleep for 30 days under your Miracle Made sheets and still, if you aren't 100% satisfied, get a full refund.
Let's say 29. Let's give people a day because you don't want to forget.
That's right. That's right. You don't want to send them back and it's like, sorry, I was 32 days.
You know what? You're not going to need that refund. They're great sheets.
Yeah,
but either way, you have nothing to lose by trying them out. Upgrade your sleep by going to trytrymiracle.com/omnibus and use that code omnibus. That's how you'll claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off.
Again, that's trymiracle.com/omnibus to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Even now, I mean, the number one producer of animal skins is, wait for it.
Cows.
Well, yes, we make more cow by acre
Than any other species.
but the United States creates more skins because we eat more cows.
Beef, right? So today it's just kind of a byproduct of the beef industry.
Well, and all animal skins have, other than now, game animals that we hunt just for their skins, or seals and beavers. Almost all leather comes as a result of having killed the animal for other reasons. Sheep, pig, goat, even horse. Like some of the best leather jackets and pants are made of horsehide, which is an even kind of hardier leather.
Is it advertised that way, or would that make the consumer too squeamish? No, people are okay wearing horsehide.
If you find a horsehide jacket, you would say, and they're visibly different. Like a horsehide jacket that hasn't been worn just looks like armor, and they take a long time to break in. But like some of the most expensive shoes are called shell cordovan shoes, and it's the type of shoes that bank presidents and United States presidents wear. They're a kind of reddish, polished leather that are only made by a few companies. And the shell is a sort of subcutaneous leather that is only on the horse's butt. And a horse can only produce enough butt shell to make 2 pairs of shell cordovan shoes, one on each butt.
So put down a horse every time you want a new pair of shoes.
Well, this is the problem. This is why shell cordovan shoes are partly so expensive, is that nobody eats horse anymore.
Right.
And the places that do eat horse,
France.
and Canada, of all the places.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because of all the French, they export, or the horse hides are an in-demand export,
right,
for those places, and they get made into nice things.
1 shoe per buttock.
But if you were a rich person that said, everybody that works at Snapchat, all 20,000 teenagers that work at Snapchat are all going to wear cordovan shoes because that's my trip as a billionaire. If Elon Musk said everybody that works at Tesla has to wear cordovan shoes, you wouldn't be able to do it.
There's not enough in the world.
I mean, unless you bought a bunch of wild ponies and murdered them all just to make shoes, which I wouldn't put past them.
Yeah, the billionaires would probably do that. I mean, I don't know why they want to dress all the Snapchat employees alike anyway in this scenario, but
well, when I was dating Millennium Girlfriend and she was a lawyer at Snapchat, the Snapchat president, who was some 24-year-old billionaire,
Mr. Snapchat,
had some what was it? Some sort of like cashmere T-shirt. I don't know if you've noticed this when you go to the San Francisco airport and walk through. There's all these people that you're like, why is everybody dressed like a guy in a T-shirt? And then you look at him and you're like, oh,
that's a $600 T-shirt.
Yeah, it's a $600 T-shirt, and he's wearing $3,500 shoes. Like, I get it. It's like forced casual. Anyway, he said everybody at the company gets, or I guess everybody in public-facing part of the company has to wear this same T-shirt. It's our look.
Wow.
I was like, that's pretty good, I guess.
If you're running a cult.
Yeah. Well, aren't all tech companies just cults now?
It turned out, yes.
Founder-led tech companies?
It turned out.
So, what I was saying is that the U.S., as a result of killing all those many, 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 many cows, exports, wait for it, 1.6 billion cow skins a year.
Wow.
But we have mostly done away with the tanning industry here, as we've done away with all industry.
Right. That's why upstate New York is just ravaged.
So all of these skins go to Asia, where they are tanned using ye olden times chemical processes that are outlawed in the United States.
Probably not so great for their rivers either.
And then they dump all of it. I mean, they dump it in the Ganges. They dump it in all the rivers in Asia. Absolutely poisoning in a way that's not exclusively chemical poisoning, but a lot of the tanning process produces all this fat and biological material that goes into the rivers and then creates algae blooms and makes the rivers uninhabitable, not because of the chemical poisoning so much as because of just who wants the fat from 1.5 billion cows in the river.
Well, now I feel guilty. I feel virtuous for not wearing leather.
Well, but what kind of shoes do you have on right now? Let me see those shoes.
Well, right now I took off my shoes to go in your house, but they were
Kirkland brand tennis shoes?
They were like Allbirds. They were like vegan shoes. So today I'm really lucky. Today I look very virtuous.
Electric car and vegan shoes. Ladies and gentlemen, America's hero.
Except for all those air miles I've been flying.
But this is the thing. We export 1.5 billion rawhides, and we import 608 million pairs of shoes a year, which is 2 pairs of shoes for every American, close to.
I don't buy 2 pairs of shoes a year.
I don't either.
But some people must be.
Some people must be buying 5 pairs of shoes a year.
Imelda Marcos is helping us out there.
But so that's where we're at with.
That's a reference that all the kids will love.
Imelda Marcos.
Who's famous today for having a lot of shoes? DJ Khaled.
Still American? No. That's right. It's all the sneaker collectors.
I guess there's not a lot of leather in most sneakers. There's some,
sure,
right?
Sure there are.
Okay.
All those Nike Air Jordans, they're all leather. The good ones.
I literally have no idea which shoes are synthetics and which ones are not.
You can't tell a fake leather shoe? If you can't, it's because you didn't read the sign that extolled its fake leatherness. Nobody's pretending anymore. They're not trying to sell you vinyl shoes.
I mean, I can tell when like upholstery or like a car seat is leather versus pleather.
Right.
Pleather, is that the word?
That's what we always called it. Plastic leather, pleather.
I guess now they just say
not an industry term.
Now they just say vegan leather or something.
Yeah, exactly. So have you ever been in all of your international travels around a tannery?
I don't think so.
Operating in the classic style?
Does it smell weird?
It does. Morocco is really famous for its leather goods, and they use traditional methods of vegetable tanning, and Marrakesh is especially famous for it. Fez, too. They have a big leather industry. And they produce marvelous quality leather, but it involves, the processing involves a lot of pits, and the pits have different chemicals in them and different colors, and they're moving the skins from one pit to the next, and they're scudding them, and they're splitting them and so forth.
Just Jawas? Just a bunch of
Jawas. And it is terrible smelling, like so terrible. It's a different kind of terrible, and it does smell like death.
Does it smell like a slaughterhouse?
Yeah.
Like, because I've lived near a beef industry end of the road.
Yeah, if you could take a slaughterhouse and then combine the smells of urine and cow dung. I mean, I don't think the Moroccans are using those things anymore, but for sure it's bad smelling, and that's another reason why in the United States, even in the 1970s, there were dozens and dozens of tanneries. Now the number of tanneries in the United States you could kind of count on one hand, because nobody wants them around. They always were known as the odoriferous trade,
That's what they would say? The
Yeah.
odoriferous
The
trade?
odoriferous trade.
Nice.
And they sort of, it was an edge of town kind of like a slaughterhouse, edge of town kind of business. But then in the 1840s, a process was developed first because, another use of animal hides was as stitching. You often would use, you'd use the gut.
Oh, that's not the hide, though, is it?
No, but I mean, we use every part of the cowfalo.
Right.
So there were a lot of uses for this sort of meaty material, and as the theory of germ became more and more well understood, there was a kind of there was an attempt to make like rawhide sutures more hygienic in surgery. So,
are they not sterile when they come out of the tannery?
No.
Okay.
But if you dip them in chromium,
Okay, never tried that.
chromium sulfate, which
I'm
is
taking notes.
a salt of chrome, as we call it, which I put on all my steaks.
A salt of chromium. Okay.
It can it can tan the leather in a way that's much faster and much more sort of complete, and without all of the laborious kind of, now this has to cure for 4 days in a pile of salt and then it has to get washed and put over here. You can use chromium to expedite that process.
Is this some 20th century discovery that...
This was in 1840.
Oh, okay.
And it was originally used as a surgical sterilant or sterilizer. Sterilant.
Yeah,
Pretty good word.
That's a word now.
But then right away it was kind of adopted as a leather tanner. And it sort of changed the nature of leather processing, because after sort of prehistoric times, when leather was just one of the pre-weaving, right, of one of the original fabrics, then it became, largely because of how difficult it was to process and make nice or make strong, it became a sign of wealth. It was a luxury good, and that was because it was scarce and hard to make. And so for most of human history, leather was pretty expensive and reserved for special occasions. And because it wore well for many years, if you invested in a leather garment, it was something that you wore for hopefully half your life.
And there's just fewer cattle, right? Like,
yeah, but
not all civilizations raised cattle. Most of them didn't have that many of them.
Sheepskin was a big, like a...
Right.
And you could, with a sheep, I mean, this is true of all leather, you can leave the fur on, but with a sheepskin, you really like try and preserve the wool.
Because it's softer and nicer.
Yeah, which is also a multi-stage process of kind of trying to kill any bacteria, but also keep and fluff the fur. But then pigskin too, goatskin. I mean, and they had different sheepskin, pigskin. They're softer leathers, sort of by definition, and there were more pigskins available, more sheepskins available.
Sheep and goats everywhere.
It used to be in the United States there were so many sheep being ranched that sheepskin was super common. There were a lot of tanneries in Texas and in sheep herding regions, but Americans have largely lost the taste for
Mutton.
And so much so that, in fact, any lamb that you buy now, any mutton, they're all lambs. They're all killed before they're
And it's true. I've eaten a
Of
lot of
majority.
lamb and I like it, but I don't know if I would use mutton as a very good beef substitute. I mean, the curry would have to be nice and strong
Yeah,
for
and
me
it
to
would-
want to eat goat and mutton.
It'd have to stew for a long time.
Right.
So, and you know, if you at the age a lamb is when it's slaughtered for food, it's actually pretty big enough that a sheepskin is still a useful material in making. I mean, if you think about Uggs, the very
That's
popular
sheepskin,
boot,
right?
their Uggs have kind of transformed the market for sheepskins. They're so popular that they have their own sort of style of tanning, and
Aren't Uggs from Australia where they still they still raise and eat a ton of sheep?
Yeah, they have a lot of sheep down there, and I think maybe enough sheep to satisfy the Ugg the Ugg market.
I have no idea if people still wear Uggs. I'm just assuming they do because you say so.
Yes, I'm here to tell you that Uggs.
But I mean, it's got to be
blowing
comfy.
up.
It's got to be comfy on your feet. But anything that's comfy might not be super durable on your feet.
Well, the fur is on the inside, but yeah, sheepskin is not as durable as cow leather, but it's softer, it's nicer. I don't think anybody buys a pair of Uggs and thinks they're going to battle the Romans in them for 20 years.
You take care of them when you wear them.
But when we use chromium to tan the leather, the process no longer involves pounding animal dung. You soak it, or you coat it in salt. You let the bugs die. Then you re-soak it. You put milk of lime on it. You still have to scud it. And I think the process now takes about 3 days to tan a skin.
What, down from weeks?
Down from weeks. And then you go through a process of finishing the leather. And at that point, the different grades of leather sort of come into play, because a rawhide is actually a pretty thick fabric.
Yes.
A thick material.
And when I wear something in leather, it's not the full thickness of the hide. Is that right?
Right.
How do you separate the layers?
Well, you split the hide, and you basically
Like you're peeling it off like
peel the leathers apart. The top layer, after you scud off the hair, I'm talking now about a cowhide. The top layer is called the top grain, and when you are looking at a selection of rawhides, people in the leather business go and actually grade the hides based on how many scars the cow got in the course of its life.
Oh, so it's nothing. It's just how unblemished it is?
Well, or how attractively blemished it is. But, there's dimpling, there are intrinsic qualities to a cowhide that reflect how well the cow lived.
I guess I thought it would be a texture issue, but it's really just the looks of how it looked on the cow.
How it looked on the cow, and texture is a part of it, but they grade cowhides there are a dozen grades where people walk through and mark these hides with chalk, like this is a top grade, this is a low grade cowhide, and this process, the process of taking cow skins and turning them into products involves a lot of people and a lot of aesthetics, a lot of choices about where skins are going and what they're going to do. But that top grain leather, which is really the best of it, is kind of the top two layers of a cow skin. So the skin is top grain at the top, and then there's a kind of junction between the corium and the outer skin.
What's corium?
Corium is the material that's, suede is the underside of corium.
Okay. And is that like in the middle or is that on the inside?
It's underneath. It's in the middle. And if you're using top grain leather, it has the corium along with it. You know, like the top grain leather will have both.
I see.
And that's what makes it thick and durable.
So suede is like just one stratum of regular leather?
Yeah,
Like
where they've taken the top layer off.
Got
And
it.
top grain leather is what you find in leather that's intended for heavy use, like bridal leather or...
that's a phrase I know because I've seen it in ads.
Yeah, leather for horse work.
Yeah. Or even upholstery, I think sometimes they'll tell you what's made of top grain leather.
Yeah, so top grain leather is the most expensive kind of leather. And the most durable. Wallets are often made of it. There are so many uses of leather. If you think about even in the era pre-mass production of leather-bound books, leather as a trim, leather for all of saddlery and industrial processes that needed that kind of material. The rawhide itself, most of us don't have much contact with rawhide anymore, except as dog chews.
Right.
And dog chews is what happens if you...
And it's it's too tough for, I mean, it's great because your dog will work on it all day, but you can't imagine using that for any kind of consumer level stuff.
No, although if you moisten it, if you soak rawhide, it does become loose and flexible.
That's what happens when my dog chews on it.
That's right. It becomes gross. But like in olden times, like the original gauchos would take wet rawhide, wrap it around their feet, and then let it dry.
And that becomes a shoe?
And it becomes a shoe.
Whoa. Gaucho tech.
Gaucho tech. You could, it was used as casts. If you broke your arm, you could wrap rawhide around it and then let it harden, and it shrinks when it hardens. So it would actually shrink and reset the bone and then hold it in its little cast. And because of that quality, it was used as a torture device.
Oh, really?
You would wrap rawhide around somebody or some part of them, and then it would, it would harden.
You'd be wet,
shrink.
and then the straps would tighten.
Yeah, and then you'd be.
I think I remember this from
screaming.
some kind of nautical work.
Is that right?
Yeah, some kind of naval torture. I can't remember what it was.
But what you're looking for in top grain leather is that the look of the skin itself unprocessed. I mean, processed to a minimum degree, tanned, given color, preserved perhaps with wax, lubricated so that it is supple, but not otherwise messed with. But then if you take that top grain leather off and you're left with the leather that's beneath it, you get so under full grain leather, which is the kind that you were looking at in your couch. Then top grain is the stuff that is not including the absolute sort of strongest, best outside leather. And that material is what you see kind of more commonly used in luxury goods. And what's done to it to process it is that it's kind of sanded smooth and often embossed with the dimpling that a natural...
It just makes it look like... And it's full. This is full grain?
I mean, this is top grain. Full grain is the real thick leather. I mean, I have some of it around here in the form of belts and whatnot.
Okay.
All the belts that I use to power the steam engines that
Sure.
keep the lights on here.
Very steampunk.
But the distinction between full grain, which is easy to distinguish because it really is the whole of the top half of the skin, and top grain, which is manipulated more. It's still a good quality leather, a strong leather, but it is now underneath what would have been the surface of the leather. It's still not down to the softer and less durable corium.
Oh, the closer you get, the further you get into the cow, the less tough and therefore good the leather is.
That's right. And with suede being an example, and it's kind of confusing because suede is also often a luxury good.
It's coated fancy,
but it's considerably less durable. And in most leather applications, what the expectation is that it's going to be strong. It's going to gain character as it weathers, like it's going to develop a patina, which is a big selling point of leather. If I showed you my wallet, which is made by a company called Gurkha, the older it gets, the more it looks like it was shot out of a cannon, and that is...
I think my wallet just looks crappy when it gets old.
yours.
You can kind of see I feel like whatever they colored it with is kind of coming off. Like that's just cheap. That's cheap crap.
Yeah, and this is a thinner leather, but it's not entirely cheap. You do see the wear. What is this? Oh wow!
I'm just gonna go through the cash.
Yeah, what do you got in here? You got a membership card at SIF, and you got 2 more small popcorns.
I got 2 more free popcorns.
Yeah.
Don't you dare take that.
That seems like a good thing to have.
I'm always afraid that's going to get pickpocketed. I should leave that with my passport.
Did you know that that the ladies here at the adjacent bunker, ladies here at Bunker Annex, they went to Scarecrow the other day and they got The Big Blue, a movie about
The Big
deep
Blue.
sea diving.
Is that not available anywhere else? Did
Not
they go there
available.
with Big Blue in mind?
They did. They
Wow.
couldn't find it anywhere, and I said, Scarecrow.
Had your kid ever been to Scarecrow?
Nope.
Did she have a good time?
I think so.
It's great.
But they went and they found it, and they came back and watched it. It's 3 hours long, about like holding your breath and diving into the dark. Things I don't want to do. I don't want to do either thing.
Is it really 3 hours long?
It's 3 hours. It's a 3-hour tour.
Jeez. John, let me ask you this. Do you like spending too much money for things?
Ken, I don't. First of all, any money is too much money for a
freegan like you?
yeah, for a working guy like myself.
Out dumpster diving saltines in your nice Seattle metro area neighborhood?
But also, just as a matter of general principle, I don't want to overpay for anything. That's just like that really gets at the heart of my my core Americanness.
I have 4 people on my family phone plan.
Yep.
And I used to get sticker shock when I would take a look at what it costs to get 4 people a decent calling plan in America these days. It's
gnarly.
criminal.
It's gnarly.
But you know what? There's a solution. There's a better way.
Go on.
As we say in the ad reading world.
Go on.
I recently got a chance to switch to Mint Mobile, and I could not believe the difference. From the jaw-dropping prices on my bill before, Mint Mobile plans started at $15 a month.
How is it that a upstart company like Mint Mobile can compete with the big boys?
It's amazing, isn't it? Isn't it remarkable?
I'm remarked.
They have the nation's largest 5G network. All their plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text.
Wow.
And you can port your own current number over. You don't have to switch phone numbers.
We also have a family plan over here at the Roderick Bunker. And with all the young family growing up, we're just adding family to it every day, and it's putting a significant dent in my wallet.
It's a Malthusian problem. You're gonna have an infinite number of people on your phone plan by the year 2100.
So that's right. It's a Hilbert Hotel situation. So you're saying that Mint Mobile will rescue me with premium wireless plans? Just starting at $15 a month?
It's a special offer now. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. They'll offer you 3 months of their service for for just $15 a month.
And do I get to keep my existing phone number?
Yes, and all your contacts. It's the easiest. When I did the switchover, I could not believe how easy it was. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/omnibus. mintmobile.com/omnibus.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for the first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And then the layer under that is the topic of today's show.
Finally, we're like an hour in, and we finally got all the way into the cow deep enough. We usually don't dig from out to in when we do omnibus.
Yeah, but here we are. We've
deep
gone,
in the cow.
We've gone through the full grain leather. We've gone through the top grain leather, and we have arrived at the split and corrected grain sub-level of leather, which is sold and marketed as genuine leather.
Is that because that's the best thing you can say about it? This thing is definitely leather.
Genuine leather. Well, what happened in the modern world is that, like a lot of things that were formerly luxury items, luxury goods, modern industrial processes made them affordable to the masses. So all of a sudden, you could have a leather jacket or a leather purse or a leather hat.
And it could be from Kmart, not from Saks.
That's right. And we have all grown as products of this industrialization. We've all grown to think of all of these luxury products. I mean, in a way, wool and cotton.
Yeah.
But also 3 square meals a day and canned pop and all the things that we're able to buy now in stores would have, I mean, the vast majority of them you would have either had to make yourself or they would have been pretty dear.
You'd be the richest importer in London if you could have one orange right now.
Right. And if you think about like the farmhouses even that my grandparents grew up in, they had the Bible and maybe Shakespeare's sonnets. And they had one set of cutlery. I mean, you know, it was not the time. And we think of all this stuff as cheap and exploitative and polluting and garbage, which it all is. But it has afforded us, and this is true globally, of a level of luxury we don't think of as luxury.
Yeah.
And partly it's because things are now made more cheaply to accommodate us. But leather, that is kind of what would have been the leather that you would have scraped off of your full grain like armor, has now been subjected to a whole series of industrial processes where it's chemically treated.
Oh, this is leather that wouldn't even have held up before?
Well,
like we found out how to make it a plausible product?
It would not have been, a luxury product. And this is leather that's been sanded, it's been dyed, it's been supplized, it's been embossed. Sometimes you can see in this leather, if you look at the patterning on it, you can see the pattern repeat because it's been run through a roller that has dimples on it. Mm-hmm. And genuine leather as a logo, as a label, there's no real one moment where it became, no one takes credit for it. What happened was as leather manufacturing went overseas, the market was kind of flooded with a lot of fake leather, garbage leather. Leather wasn't.
By fake, do you mean like vinyl? Like
just pleather.
Non-leather.
Because this stuff was coming from overseas production and there wasn't a standard yet of what constituted. I mean, there was always full grain leather, but all the pleathers, and then the lowest grade of leather, which is bonded leather,
Even that sounds pretty good. Like if somebody was like, hey, you should buy this desk set. It has bonded leather. I'd be like, damn, it does? Bonded leather? But you're telling me it's crap.
What bonded leather is particle board of leather. It is made of leather.
It's bits of leather that have been constituted.
Kind of glued into a consistent leather-ish thing, but all these processes of stamping, rolling, squeezing, pulling makes that leather look and feel and act like leather, but it's not it's not like a skin.
I remember shopping for like a chair or a recliner or something and looking at which parts. It was the first time I'd seen something where different parts of the item were described as being different kinds of leather. You know, okay, this part's top grade, but this part's, and I had to do the research, and I was shocked that genuine leather was not the good kind.
Yeah.
Like genuine leather was what you're trying to avoid, basically. And I didn't know that.
In furniture, which is going to get a lot of wear, yeah, genuine leather is not going to hold up. Like a full grain leather chair is the type of thing that you see sometimes in a vintage store where it's clearly it's a wingback chair from 1890 that's for sure weathered, but that weathering looks amazing instead of weathering that looks like it's torn and shredded. And
the chair's still sittable.
Yeah, right. And so what happened was there were restrictions placed on how much you could lie about leather.
Oh, it's regulated now?
To this degree. I mean, there are all these dozen subgrades of leather, but there's a lot of mystery and a lot of sort of obfuscation in the leather industry. There's a guy I follow on Instagram whose whole career is he buys Chanel bags and Balenciaga bags and Louis Vuitton bags and all these, the purse market is insane.
Yeah, these are 4-figure items, maybe.
Yeah. Well, more. But yeah, he'll buy a $5,000 purse and then he cuts into it with a razor blade and pulls the stitching apart and just demolishes the bag, talking about what he finds. He's a Slavic guy, but he's developed this expertise, and he gives these sort of wonderful, like...
Is it often shocking? Like, look at this cheap...
That's part of the appeal of it, is he says, this is a $4,000 bag, but it is, like, constructed in every way more poorly than this $700 bag. And so there's that satisfaction of having some luxury brands unmasked.
Do you think some people are just paying for the brand?
If you can imagine.
I don't know if I believe this.
But he has the ability, and European tanneries continue to produce like some of the finest grade leather, and partly the United States got out of the leather making business, whereas in Europe it was considered more of a legacy sort of product.
Artisanal
leather. And there are leather, there's a market for halal leather because the assumption is that those animals were treated better because they were being raised in the context of being kosher or halal. They were in that pipeline. And so the grade of the skin is going to be just automatically, there are going to be fewer 22 bullet holes in them or
but I assume a religious practitioner wouldn't care, right? Like you can wear. Can you not wear leather of treif animals if you're Jewish?
I don't think
or haram animals if you're Muslim?
I think if you were Muslim, you wouldn't wear a pigskin jacket.
I don't know, but I don't know what the institutions are to keep you from wearing a pigskin jacket. It's
right.
The jackets aren't stamped kosher or not. Your rabbi is not going to ask. It doesn't seem like a part of your religious decision tree to be like, well, let me check and see whether this jacket is like our football's actually pigskin. Like there's that BYU quarterback.
No, I think that kosher Jews, unless they are extremely conservative and kind of off on the fringe, I think it's not unkosher to wear pigskin gloves.
There are still restrictions on clothing in the Torah, but I think it's like you can't mix different
You
fibers.
can't wear a
You
shirt
mix,
made of cheese
I don't know about
and a
cheese.
pigskin hat.
Like you can't mix wool and linen or something like that.
The footballs, NFL footballs, are exclusively made by the Horween Leather Company.
And they are actually pig leather or not?
They are no. The official football is made out of cowhide, steer hide.
They still say pigskin, but it's a lie.
It's a lie. And they are exclusively, the NFL footballs are made by the Horween Leather Company of Chicago, and they are the ones that make Shell Cordovon shoes. Horween leather in the sort of leather culture
Super
of
high end.
menswear is the stuff. You know, if you have shoes made of Horween leather, that's the first thing you put in your Twitter bio.
And do you think they still tan domestically and stuff like that? They're
in Chicago.
They're an artisanal craft tannery.
But that's why these Alden shoes cost $900 because it's not offshored. When I was researching this, I said, I have 2 leather jackets still. I have a sort of grunge era leather blazer, longer, not quite a blazer, but with leather buttons. And I have that motorcycle jacket that I've had since the 80s. I probably bought that motorcycle jacket in 1986. And I said, surely these 2 jackets, these 2 vintage jackets from the 70s and 80s will be some sort of top grain leather,
Because they're from back in the day.
but I had my fears.
Oh, you had never researched that's not very you to not look into the grade of your leather.
I know. And I went into the closet and I pulled the blazer out and looked at it. And right there was the label, genuine leather. And I held it in my hands and I felt it and I looked at it more carefully. And it had always felt very substantial. And it does.
But now that you knew, you were
But as I looked at it, I could now suddenly see the processing. One of the ways you can look is if the edge of the leather has a kind of blue look to it. That's called wet blue, and it means that they haven't gone through the whole process, the multi-step process of tanning the leather. They put it in the chrome, and it's come out, and they didn't even go to the trouble to paint the edge. There is wet blue leather that someone's come along and painted the edge. They go down it with a Sharpie. You can see what's called wet white leather, which has been tanned with aluminum salts, and those are not very good for the environment. But those are used for soft leather applications. Aluminum salt does a different process on the leather. But then the real tale was told. I went down into the basement where I have my stash of garments that I'm going to sell when the world collapses. I'm going to say, oh yeah.
You think they're worth more when there's no human population?
I have a belt made out of gold doubloons, and I have this jacket that's been drawn on with white Sharpie.
If I were you, I would sell now while there's a ton of clothes and lots of people. Because when society collapses, there's going to still be a ton of clothes. There's just going to be no people.
It does seem like I may have put too much stock in this investment.
Unless the zombies are going to wear your stuff.
Because I pulled the leather jacket down off the hanger and looked inside.
Oh, no.
Genuine leather.
Oh, no.
Genuine.
Maybe if you hadn't researched this, you'd still be like, yeah, genuine leather.
I
That's
know.
so great. It's so genuine.
And I always thought, I've seen those labels 100 times over the years, but I always thought, yeah, that's right. That's right, ladies. Genuine leather.
Leather. I guess it's just like, you don't want your politician to be genuine, and you don't want your leather to be genuine. But everything else is good. Everything else should be genuine, right?
No, bonded leather is made out of... Oh, you're saying...
Everything in the world
should be genuine?
It would be good if it were genuine, right?
Well, but what's the difference between genuine and authentic?
Oh, I don't know.
See, I mean, if you were talking about authentic indie rock and genuine indie rock?
Would anybody use the term genuine for an art
not.
form?
No, they would not.
That-
Genuine.
That also seems like you're avoiding something. Like, yep, this is real music that people are singing. That almost seems like it's not AI.
Right.
It's genuine rock.
But you would say you have genuine problems with female authority, right? You would use genuine in the context of like saying real or big or like you have.
Yeah, they're sizable. They're existing and they're.
I have a genuine
to be reckoned
desire
with.
to be slapped and tickled.
Good to know.
Whereas it would have a different meaning if you said, I have an authentic desire to be slapped and tickled. That would mean that you weren't one of these posers who claimed to like to be slapped and tickled.
It's almost like the worse the grade of leather gets, the better the name it is for a bar. Bonded leather is a great name for a bar.
Super good.
And it's the worst leather.
Yeah.
Top grain, I don't know. Really good leather, not a great bar name.
I mean, if you said, I'm going down to full grain, pick me up, it might just sound like like some kind of like pig feed?
Yeah, it's a feed store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if you tell somebody,
leather.
I'm going to be a bonded leather, don't, till 2 a.m., don't try to call.
Right.
Everyone knows what's going on.
And bonded leather would be a different bar than genuine leather.
I think so.
Genuine leather would be the original bar, and then bonded leather is like the offshoot that's a little closer to the stadiums.
And that concludes Genuine Leather. Entry 522.GE0321. Certificate number 46978 in the omnibus. For pictures of John's various apocalypse garments, you can probably find him on social media. I see pictures of you in clothing on at John Roderick on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I don't try to be a clothing person, but every once in a while I'll find something interesting and I'll say, hey, look at this. I found this thing. And in fact, Ken, I'll let you take pictures of the 2 leather jackets and you can put them up on our website.
We should put that on the Patreon. One of the perks we provide to Patreon providers is a photo feed of show notes, the weird things we get mailed from listeners. If you or I come across something omnibus adjacent in the wild, we often take a picture. I have a bunch of pictures of Chilean street dogs from my trip to Chile that I'm going to post. I just remembered this.
Did we do a show on Chilean street dogs? We did do street dogs, didn't we?
I feel like we did, didn't we?
It does feel like a thing that we would do.
I don't remember why we were talking about Chilean protests. Riot dogs, that's what it was called.
Riot dogs is what it was.
Riot dogs. But all the cool celebrity riot dogs in the news were from Chile. So every time I saw a street dog, I was like, I'm putting this on the Patreon.
Nice.
But even at the lowest level of Patreon support, you get a new episode, a new omnibus entry every month, an addenda entry. You get early ad-free access to every single week's show. Well worth it if you have $5 in quarters jingling around at the end of every month. You're living your life wrong because you're listening to late ad-clogged omnibus when you had money you could throw at the problem. Not every problem can be solved with money, but this one can be. No, I've become, from just watching billionaires in the wild online, I've come to realize not every problem can be solved with money. And this is the realization that is driving these men mad.
I was thinking about this the other day because all musicians really hate it when someone tells them that their job is its own reward. If somebody's like, oh, well, you're just lucky because it's your own reward. Musicians have a tendency to say, you know what? Screw yourself.
That makes sense.
But at the same time, if you've ever played a show where a bunch of kids in a strange town all like sang your own songs back to you, there's no way you could buy that with any amount of money.
Better than money.
Yeah, if you had $1 billion, you could not authentically convince.
I mean, Elon Musk can't even get to the top of his video game leaderboards, much less get actual adulation for his art.
He could pay 500 kids to pretend to like his music, but you can tell.
He would know.
And so in that sense, there is a way of looking at it like, this is you're paid in a different way.
You can't be bought.
You couldn't buy that for money, but at the same time, we need money because you do have to buy other things.
Who
like
needs money more than musicians?
macaroni and cheese and distortion boxes?
Nobody. So patreon.com/omnibus project would be the way to make sure John doesn't run out of macaroni and cheese or distortion boxes anytime soon. Because he doesn't eat that store brand mac and cheese. Like you get like the Auntie Anne's.
I used
or
to
the Trader Joe's.
love the cheap macaroni and cheese, and then my daughter, because she's middle class,
Bougie.
she's like, I only want Annie's. It's the best kind, and I'm like, well, Annie's is not the best kind, and she's like, it is the best kind.
Did I just say Auntie Anne's? That's a pretzel.
And I don't know. We don't eat pretzels around here, or at least I don't.
Wow. I finally find the bright line. What? We don't eat pretzels.
I mean, they do. The ladies eat pretzels, but I don't want them. I don't want them around here. Keep your pretzels to yourself.
I don't want a crunchy pretzel. I don't mind a doughy pretzel.
Okay, well, I'll eat a doughy pretzel if you have cheese.
But if I'm on a plane and they give me pretzels, I'm like, wow.
What a ripoff.
I'm imprisoned here and you found the worst food?
Yeah.
Really?
You found a way to make my lips more chapped?
Boo.
No, I don't want a pretzel. I want a Cheeto. But anyway, so I've started buying Annie's macaroni and cheese, and it's good. It's fine. It's fine.
Patreon.com/omnibus project is the URL. At Ken Jennings, at John Roderick, at Who is Ken Jennings, apparently now on Instagram. You can email us at theomnibusproject@gmail.com with your own leather fantasies. That's all we want. You can send us things to P.O. Box 55744 Shoreline, Washington, 98155. For example, I have a couple photos that I think I forgot to put on the Patreon stream.
What?
Back in January, do you remember our listener Jennifer sent us that Seattle landscape her mom had embroidered for us? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Or is that embroidery? I'm not good at this. But I forgot. I didn't know that there were actually pictures. She had and I missed them in the envelope. She had sent pictures of her mom proudly showing the artwork.
That's fantastic.
Which I think it's still in the other bunker, and a picture of her mom getting a book signed by me at a signing. So thank you, belatedly,
Her
Jennifer,
mom
for sending
is
that along.
Ken Jennings fan.
Look at that. Look how happy she looks in that photo. Our friend Nat, who I think we most recently name-checked him because he sent us that book of supermarket advertisement comic strips, like housewives in the 40s, like, following their adventures in the paper, but all their adventures are about their shopping lists. It's very exciting. It really makes me want to go to Safeway. Nat says, when we talked about 411, the telephone information number, he was inspired to finally put together a project that had been nibbling at the back of his mind for a couple years. In the early 1950s, just before becoming the original High and Lois artist and decades before creating Hagar the Horrible, cartoonist Dick Brown drew a series of ads that were, of comic strips that were ads for local telephone companies. So not yet the rock star he would become in his Hagar era.
Telephone company ads.
And the ads are about telephone etiquette, like how to use a party line without pissing off your neighbors.
That does seem like a thing that you would need a lesson in if you were new to party lines.
And what better way to instruct America than with a series of gentle and beguiling comic strips in the paper or in the ad supplement?
This is circa when?
Early 50s.
Early 50s.
Because I guess High and Lois, High and Lois is what, a Beetle Bailey spinoff or vice versa? So it was probably late 50s, early 60s, I want to say.
Okay.
So this is very early work. Juvenilia from the great Dick Brown. The reason why he did not put together this project is because he says that no one would want it. You'd have to be interested in old comics and telephony, not just either or.
Well, wait. We have demonstrated that we're
Yes.
both really into both things.
So here's the thing. He only printed 10 copies, and he sent 2 to us.
Hey!
So we have 1/5 now of the world's collection of Dick Brown's. These are kind of beautiful because they're in this kind of Archie-like style.
Yeah. But kind of Archie-like, but also like, look out, kids! Syphilis is
exactly
running through your
This
school.
is what you get when you join the army, and they warn you about things in comic form. These are great. Nat does say that if there is any more demand, if listeners, for example, would love to see these beautiful comics, The Indie Planet website where they are sold will be glad to print more. So just putting that out there into the world.
There are 8 still available, and the first 8 futurelings.
He'll go back to press if you just want, full grain or genuine or bonded party line comics. But you and I here have the top grain collection.
That is nice stuff. Look at that.
Thank you so much.
And then
Matt.
on the back, it's got an ad for Kablam Digital Printing.
That must be who hooked him up here.
As we know, all great 20th century artists were commercial artists first, right? Sign painters and whatnot.
It was all the people who were like, I don't need that. I can just go straight to my performance art pieces. That's the work that doesn't hold up. Anyway, I believe that the average American is not interested in both old comics and telephony, but the ones who do are disproportionately represented by the omnibus listenership.
I agree. I think if you know anyone who loves telephones and comic books, why have you not told them about omnibus yet?
Well, check out Nat Gertler's Party Line Comics from his About Comics imprint. If this sounds like fun to you, we'll put some screen caps on the Patreon, because those are our big spenders. Those are the people who they have a little moolah.
They have a little moolah.
They got a little scratch.
Give a little bit. Da-doom, da-doom.
A little bit of kale.
Give a little bit of kale.
Thank you so much, Nat. And look for the Futurelings online wherever Futurelings are sold.
Futurelings, from our vantage point in your distant past, we have no idea how long our civilization survived. We hope and pray that the catastrophe we fear may never come. But if the worst comes soon, this recording, like all our recordings, may have been our final word. If Providence allows, however, we wish you many goods and cheese and hope to be back with you soon for another entry in the Almanac.